Good morning, dear students. I, Vidya Sagar, welcome you all in the e-learning class of Modern International Zoezwa. I am going to start subject SPL of Standard 8, and this is second weekly lecture on the topic Chapter 4 Understanding Law. Dear students, we have discussed in the earlier times that the how the tough rule was applied by the British colonial, or you can say the how harsh rule was applied by the British colonial to our countries. But in mid of that, you can say by the end of the 19th centuries, the Indian legal professions also began emerging and demanded the respect in the colonial courts. It means we were not free, but we are also opposing that we should also demand for our respect. It means we also have our dignity, and our great leaders, they know that if we will not be free, then we can't get the proper justice. So that's why they have been initiated the things, and they have started that we also want the rights which should be given to us. So the Indian judges, they also began to play a greater role in making decisions. It means by the Indian judge, they were also just playing the role that they could also make and judge well. And that's why there were the several way in which the Indian were playing the major role in the evolution of rule of law during the colonial period. It means in the earlier times, they, as the British, they ever used to think that if these Indian will get education, then we cannot suppress them and they will not obey to us. That's why they were not spreading the education to us. And whenever our great leaders, they just get the education, and when they get camp awareness that we also, each and every peoples should have the rights, and they like our great leader Mahatma Gandhi, they were also the great barrister like B.R. Ambedkar, they have also the knowledge of law. Then each and every great leaders, they came to know about that without the knowledge, anyone can't propagate the things in their life. So every years our representatives pass several new laws as well as the amend existing ones. It means each and every time this happens that the different law ever used to passed, and the existing law maybe it may be taken some changes within that, like the if we will come to know about one of the act about Hindu Succession Amendment Act 2005. Under this act, it was mentioned, as it is mentioned is class 6, then you will come to know about that in the family property there is the equal right for the mother, father, daughter as well as son. All of them having the equal rights, and they have also the equal rights and opportunity that they can share their family property equally. This was amended in 2005. But here you will see that this was not happening within a single days. As you will see the storyboard here, you will find that these things were not happening in a single days. Now you will come to know that how the new law come about. As the parliament, it has an important role, as our constitution is the pillar which shows that the how the government should run, and this shows that how the peoples and what are their rights which have been proclaimed to us. If there were not be the written record, then no one could tell it clearly that what the rights and what the facilities which have been given to us, even if we are, whether we are rich or whether we are poor. So an important role of the parliament is to be sensitive to be problem faced by the peoples. It means in these parliaments, it was discussed by them that we have to be sensitive. It means we have to be careful by the parliament. As we know that the parliament, there the MPs, the member of parliament, it means the MPs, they are from the each districts, or you can say the each of the constituency from the where the parliamentary constituency is made out there, and from those areas one MP is selected. So they will tell the current situation, and they will let them know the parliament that what the current situation is going on. So here in the storyboard, here we will see that how the domestic violence, as domestic violence now it became the offense, and there is also punishment for it. But in the earlier times, as it was the same, no, it was not same. As many of the voice has been raised by the women's, by the women commission, and many of the organization which was led by the women's. So by these organizations, they these law were came to made here. So within this law we will come to know that how a woman can be protected in spite of whenever their husband or anyone, any son is abusing or just misbehaving her in her house. So the act, like the Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act 2005, it was also enacted in 2005, and it just confirms that understanding of the term domestics to include all the women who live together and share the household with the male members and pre perpetrating of the violence. It means these rights just prohibit the male that they could not do the violence with the females which are just sharing the house to them. Like in this storyboard, it is started with Sajia and the two women, Shajia and Kusum. Okay, yes, Sajia and Kusum, two women. It was started. The one is reading out the newspaper. Kusum is reading out the newspaper, and she's just exclaimed with joy just to see the today's newspaper. It is very great to us, and not just women, violence free homes. It means the that day to it was the act was passed, like the Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act 2005 was passed. So this was a great you can say the great time for the women, because they were being ill treated by the male person in their home. So by this act they can complain against them, and that's why they were being happy. So both of them women, they are just talking to them that this day is very good for us. Now during April 1991, a typical day at their office, it means one of women who who is appealing to the woman, as both of them are working in a women's organization, and they are just sharing that one of women she's came near to him, her, and she's just asking that her husband beats, and she does not told anyone, and she is also feel ashamed that she is being beaten, but she don't know that where she could go. As the another woman, she was also telling just mentioning the complaints against her husband, that she is being also being ill treated by son and daughter-in-law. It means, and she can't also access her bank account. So both of them, they are just begging the excuses by the women like Sazia and Kusum, that they don't want to the police station. In lieu of that, they just want that they could live in the home and they should not be thrown out, because this is the situation that where they all will survive. It means they don't have any single idea that where they will survive. So they're the their homes should not let me go from there. As during 1990s, the need for this law was increased, because the women, just they were somewhere the women they were also just irritating by this type of violence, domestic violence, and that's why the voice was raising all around. So here the public meeting was also around, raised, and public forums, and within that the women who were in the organization, they were just putting their thoughts, different thoughts, that how they should come over with these problems. So finally they also just do the collective movements, and finally during 1919 the lawyer collectives, uh, who were the lawyers, and they just put the file, and the law students as well as the activists from the nationwide, they just took the lead in drafting the domestic violence and prevention and protection bill. That this bill was mentioned that there should be no any domestic violence whenever the women who used to live at home, because both of them are participating, and both of them are if having the same equal rights, and both of them like the dominating society should be not be there, because both of them are caring to their house, both of them are just maintaining the house. If one is going outside, then another is at inside their house, and they are just keeping it well for him. So they also just mention some of the definition in it, that if the violence it will include the physical, economic as well sexual and verbal, then it's all, as well as the emotional abuse. It means any kind of emotional abusing is banned there. So the law should cover any woman living in shared domestic spaces. It means in this law the all types of women, they all should come inside it. And they also thinking that what will be the relief of them. Then the meetings it was held with the different organization, and further the women's movement, they wanted that a bill should be made out by the government in the parliament. Finally the bill was introduced in the parliament in 2002, but the bill having some of the changes. It means the bill which was suggested there, which was presented there, some of the changes was demanded by those women's organization, and finally some of women, they have participated, and they have told that we want some of the changes in it. And further at the press conference of 2006, the new law which was with the some of the changes which was new, and this law just prohibited that no one male can just do the violence with the women at her home. So these of the law put them that this will be the punishable offense for them. As we know, thus this law is very significant step, because is recognize the rights of women who lives in a shared household, and women can get a further protection. Now they are both of them talking that now another journey is there. Your now government has to ensure that this law is implemented and enforced. It means they also uh, uh, they want to be sure about that this law should be implemented on them. And finally this law was implemented in 2005, and further they were just sure by this law that if we will having a complaint in the police station, then police station will also be active about that. And now you will see that there is a special women's police station for the women, where they could just they could just appeal their cases or their problems to them. So okay dear students, read the paragraph and keep watching. Thank you.